Hello, friends. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait for you to listen to this interview. This interview is with a dear friend of mine, Silvy Khoucasian. She is a relationship coach, a boundaries expert, a attachment systems genius, and we got into a beautiful conversation today about boundaries specific to romantic relationships and friendships. And her and I have this beautiful personal relationship with each other where boundaries has played such a crucial role in the unfolding of our connection. And we share so much about our personal relationship with each other and how we've set and invited boundaries in with one another, how we respect each other's needs, how we amplify each other's light, celebration, gosh, all the yummy things that make sisterhood so worth having. And I am so excited for you to hear this episode. And also an update on the workshop before we get into the episode today. I have been really feeling into it, and I am going to make the workshop free. And we're going to do it at the beginning of March instead of tomorrow. And I'm going to revamp a couple more things to put a little bit more sparkle and magic in there. So there will be an updated link in the show notes with the proper time, and it's free to register. So if that feels good to you, go on ahead and click the link in the show notes. We're going to be talking about visioning for love and the incorporation of pleasure magic and pleasure alchemy when it comes to creating a vision for yourself, your life, and your love life that really freaking turns you on, which just that slight little shift really turns me on. So I'm excited to jam with you. And anyone who has already purchased a ticket, I will be in touch about refunding that and registering you for the proper workshop coming up soon. And I am so just thrilled to share Silvy with you and be in this conversation and allow all of you to, take it in. And one of the things that really stood out to us after we recorded this episode was how important it is for women to experience other women in sisterhood so that you know what it feels like in your body. You know what it feels like in your cells to witness to women who are in healthy sisterhood relationships. And that's really my vision for all of the interviews this season. I'm featuring women in my coven, women in my sisterhood circle, who we do have these really beautiful, healthy relationships with, so that you can get that coded into your body, into your cells, into your experience, so that you can recognize those healthy relationships when they present themselves in your life. And you also have, a lot of tools in your tool belt to go and generate those types of connections for yourself and that beautiful heart of yours. So let's get into it. Let's drop in. And as per usual, if you loved the episode, please share it on your social media. Leave us a review on iTunes. That's so helpful. And, just share the things that really made a difference for you, even if it's a conversation that you have and you've never shared on social media. Like, get these conversations flowing in your life. They are so important, especially at this time. And without further ado, here we go. Enjoy. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Pleasure Portal podcast. I'm your host, Kelsey Grant, and today is a very special day. I have my gorgeous and amazing and brilliant friend, Silvy Khoucasian. She is joining us for an epic conversation, probably about boundaries. That's where we're likely going to go, because she is the boundary queen. And gosh, Silvy, I'm just so thrilled you said yes. And it is such an honor to share this space and time with you. I look up to you so much. I'm just in awe of who you are and how you orient yourself in the world. And you bring such depth and compassion to not only your work, but who you are as a human being on this planet, and who I've been able to experience you as in our sisterhood and our friendship. And I think you came into my life. I remember seeing you when I was running an old account with a former partner of mine. And I was like, who is this lady? And then we started following each other, and I'm like, I really like her and I really like your message. And then it just blossomed into this friendship, and we've never even met in person, but I feel like we've lived lifetimes together. And I am just thrilled to share you with my community and for them to get to experience even just a snapshot of the kindness and the generosity and the love that you so easily exude in our relationship and out in the world with your work. So thank you for saying yes.
Oh my gosh, you already have my eyes filled with tears. And we haven't even started yet.
They're not even laughter tears either, because those happen too, where we're laughing so hard that we're crying.
Oh, what an honor. And how could I not say yes to doing a podcast with you? I mean, I was so excited, and the feelings and the expression of just awe and love and care is so mutual. And I'm so just honored to be able to call you one of my dearest friends, and how much safety you've created for me in my life and in my safety to express boundaries. And I mean, I could go on, but I just feel so grateful for our connection, and thank the ethers of Instagram for bringing us in each other's lives.
Yes. As much as social media can sometimes be a shit show, there is often like this other side to it where I get to meet incredible humans like you who I don't know that we would have crossed paths if it wasn't for social media. Like probably because I would have been frolicking at some point in LA, going to Disneyland, being like, la la la, with my ribbon wand. And you would have been like, ooh,
yes,
soul tribe. I know that person. They're in my soul pod.
You would have activated my inner child for sure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so good. So yeah, I wanted to bring you on to talk about boundaries, because this is an area that I think a lot of people could really benefit from having some more data and more information. But also when it comes to pleasure, like boundaries are a non-negotiable. Like it's really difficult to have a fully expansive and like surrendered experience of pleasure. So just like allowing ourselves to feel more pleasure if we don't also have the structure and the protection of boundaries. So given that the fact that you are the boundary queen and you are so good in this department, I'd love to, start our conversation there, and then obviously share a bit about how that has impacted our relationship with each other, because our relationship is so healthy because of the boundaries that we set with each other and the requests that we make. So maybe let's start with your definition of boundaries and how, in your opinion, boundaries are so essential for healthy relating.
Beautiful place to start, right? With defining boundaries. And
yes,
what I love is that there's so many ways I've seen people define it. And the one that really resonates the most is that boundaries are limits that we create in order to protect our integrity, our emotional well-being, our physical well-being, our spiritual, energetic well-being, and intellectual well-being. And it's a way of, again, setting limits both personally and also relationally. So there's boundaries that we set or we create around ourselves so that we're protecting ourselves from ourselves. Talked about as much. And then there's the boundaries we create in a relationship where this is what I need in order to actually feel safer to drop in more deeply with you and to also take care of myself at the same time.
Yes. I love that so much. Could you give everyone an example of what a personal boundary, like you with you, might look like and how one might set that with themselves?
Absolutely. So, and that's the reason why I love the work of boundaries so much, is because there's so many different lenses that we can work and look at them. And the personal, it can be something like how much social media content I want to consume in a day. Being aware of how much work I'm going to do versus knowing when it's time to pause so that I can rest and honor my capacity, knowing that if I don't take this time to rest and honor my capacity, that I'm not going to be really functioning at my highest. Boundaries around sleep. Nobody else are gonna, and I know this one is a juicy one for you as well, for my partner, like really has asked me, to support him. It's his boundary, but it's like we can invite that support from people in our lives to really help nourish those personal boundaries.
Yes.
And even though they're not relational, right? And then there's relational boundaries will be, perhaps how we want to engage in conflict and any limitations that we might want to put there. In the pleasure and the sensuality domain, these are things that are off limits for me. And knowing that I can communicate this allows me to, again, really, drop in and take the sensuality connection more deeply. I'm trying to think of another practical example of a relationship domain. I can give one like from our relationship.
Sure, that'd be great.
I remember when you first invited me to the first podcast we did together.
Yes.
And I was so nervous, and I was so in my own experience, and just like I wanted to jump in, but I didn't even know why I was nervous in the way that I was. And I remember you asked me this beautiful question that nobody's ever asked me before, and it was so deeply touching and honoring. And I wrote it down. What do you need from me in order to feel safe around this experience? And I just remember staring at my phone and just thinking to myself, who is this person? Like, who is this person that knows, like, to even ask me this question that I didn't even know that I needed? And because that question essentially communicated to me that I was allowed to have certain limits or boundaries around things. And in order to, allowed me to speak those things, which then made me feel safe to move forward. And that's one of the most beautiful things I think that we often don't think about, is that we can invite boundaries into the relationships that we have in a way that creates so much safety for the other person, creates so much more connection. And it has never left me, that question. And just your acknowledgement of that, and the honor, how deeply honored I felt and safe.
Oh, Silvy, now I'm going to start to cry. Just going to be us crying and acknowledging each other back and forth this whole time.
Basically.
So good. And well, I mean, what I find so interesting about that is that a lot of people have this idea that boundaries have to be this harsh, expression. And really, for my experience of boundaries, is quite the opposite. It's a dropping in of vulnerability. It's a sharing of my heart and relating to the other person as though they're capable of understanding what I'm saying, but also responding in a way that's really loving and respectful. And that's very much an inside game for me. Like, that's all me. And what you did was extend vulnerability. Like, you told the truth and you shared with me what was really alive and true for you, which then made it so easy to be responsive to your experience. And like, that's a relational skill set, to be able to be responsive to someone's experience versus reactive. And I think that's where a lot of the powerful boundary setting can really gain its momentum, is when we are being responsive not only to ourselves but to each other, and getting the other person's world, which, in my opinion, is something that the world could use a little more of these days.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, when we talk about boundaries, it's also that I think you and I were in a place in our lives where there was a lot of alignment around our boundaries. They never felt rejecting of the other person's core needs. Right? And I think that's one of the things that that I have found to be problematic in the boundaries expression when it's held in the more rigid way, is really exploring when boundary setting, it becomes relational avoidance.
Right.
And really when we get perhaps locked in patterns where we're withholding connection in a way that I don't want to use the word that feels rejecting for the other partner, but doesn't leave room for the possibility of connection. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's not easy to navigate that because I think we all feel like, well, this is my limit in this moment. I need to have a boundary. And of course, it's not about challenging this space. We can't demand people to, be present for things that they're not ready for.
Yeah.
But I'm talking more so in the emotional content that really nourishes and sustains long-term connections, and that just keeps people interwoven in one another's lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's such an important distinction for everyone to start to marinate in, because relationships are not a one-person system. And when we are sharing our boundary, we still have to consider that there's another human being on the other side who has valid needs and valid desires, and their experience matters too. And I think maybe the caveat is like abusive behavior. Like that is a very hard line.
Oh, very hard
line. But when it comes to most relational boundaries, like we're not dealing with an abusive system. We're not dealing with, violent, language or violent actions with each other. And it's more so like I have this need that feels very urgent for me right now, and I might be feeling a little threatened. And like, you need to do what I say so that I feel better. And that can be, well, it just won't work. and then we refine our process. And honestly, I think the only reason why I was able to be responsive, not only in our relationship, but in my other relationships, is because I have royally fucked this up so many times in my life. Like my 20s,
ditto to that,
was a shit show relationally. And with boundaries, like if someone had asked me what my needs were in my 20s, I'd be like, I don't have any needs. Or I just wouldn't know how to answer that question, which is, for me, like one of the building blocks of setting healthy boundaries is knowing what my core values are and knowing what my needs are. And if I can't even discern and distill that information, how am I ever going to communicate a boundary to honor those things that I need, want, and desire? It's very difficult to. So it requires a good amount of self-reflection, but also knowing that the other person is not you. And they are a whole different entity with maybe different needs, or maybe different core values in addition to the ones that you share, and their experience is just as valid. And how do we navigate through two different experiences without invalidating one or both people? It's such a powerful place to be.
I mean, I couldn't relate more to the not doing this well for most of my life. I was writing a piece of writing something yesterday that was really about how many relationships I think I've lost or walked away from because I didn't know how to communicate a need or a boundary. And had I been able to articulate it, it was a possibility that it could have been responded to well, which could have therefore protected the relationship. So I think, boundaries, we think they're personal a lot of times, but when we're creating relational boundaries, we're doing it in service of the relationship, because otherwise the relationship does not stand a chance. The inauthenticity, the resentment, the anger just builds and builds and builds until it starts to crack the foundation.
Very, very true. And, in terms of like co-creating a relationship, I can see that at play so much within our friendship. Like there have been series of conversations that we had where we were essentially creating the container for our friendship. Of like, I don't know you. I want to know you. And, tell me what you need. And I remember I was sitting on this couch. I was actually laying on this couch that I'm sitting on now. And I remember talking to you and having this profound conversation about our relational needs in friendship, and some of our wounds that were quite similar when it came to the feminine and other female relationships and friendships that we'd had, and that we both had this intention to do it differently with each other. And in order to do it different, we had to have like these creation conversations where we did invest quite a bit at the beginning of our connection to really get to know each other and to ask those vulnerable questions. Like, what is it that leaves you feeling like really supported? What leaves you feeling really heard and understood? Like, how much time do you need in between connection points? Like, and really advocating for ourselves and each other. And like that data gets stored in my brain. And I'm like, oh yeah, we haven't like touched base for a while. Like, I need to like send out a message. And you're usually like feeling that same feeling around the same time. And I'll reach out or you reach out and we're like, oh, I was just thinking of reaching out to you. Like, and so we both know kind of the limit that we have in terms of, going through phases without maybe talking or texting on a regular basis. And if the other person is feeling disconnected, like I always feel safe to bring that to you, to be like, oh, I'm feeling like I miss you, or I'm feeling disconnected, or I don't know what's going on with you. And you're always so responsive that you don't leave me hanging. You understand like the anxiety that might be bubbling there, and you're responsive. Even if you can't give me like a full deep dive, you'll still give me an acknowledgement that the message has been received and that you hear me, you validate me, and you'll give me a bye when you'll get back to me. And that really works for me. And I know that you've communicated that there's been similar experiences on your end of really having those needs validated, but then also responded to in a way that's quite different than what we've experienced in other female friendships.
Completely. I feel like everything you just said that I bring, you bring, like that responsiveness of like, when we put our vulnerabilities out there, it's really scary. And especially when you've had evidence of it being minimized, dismissed, shamed, or just overlooked. And I think whenever I would reach out, it would be, you would just be responsive. You wouldn't leave me hanging for a long period of time. And I think my nervous system had no idea how much I really needed that in friendships. I think it's easy to direct this stuff all on romantic relationships, right? We focus a lot in that department. And I think it wasn't until it was like, a lot of the things that came up for me in our relationship, I didn't even know I needed until you gave it to me. I didn't even know I was thirsty until you brought me water and you gently held it against my bosom.
Trickled it into your mouth or just near your face, and you could open your mouth if you wanted to drink it.
With a perfect golden rainbow straw into my mouth.
That's me in a nutshell. You nailed it.
I love it.
Oh, so good.
Oh.
So good. And yeah, it's really made our relationship easy. I have other relationships where there isn't this level of ease because there isn't this same degree of attunement, skill set, or responsivity. Like their ability to be responsive is just not the same. And you and I seem to have very similar needs in a lot of ways, which I think is part of what makes it flow a little bit more smoothly. We've also both invested time and energy and a lot of our creative energy into learning how to do this better after royally fucking it up. And, I am always someone who is going to advocate for making mistakes. Like if I don't make a mistake, then there's no way that I can learn how to do that better. And I don't think that mistakes should be avoided or poo-pooed. Like they're going to happen. I can't know what I don't know before I know it. And to hold myself to that impossible standard, it just takes me out of actually being available to learn how to do it more effectively in the future. And so our relationship has been such a beautiful playground for me to practice and like have that immediate feedback, like, oh, this actually works. Communicating in this way really works, especially when you're paired up with someone who has a similar skill set. We're both manifesting generators. We have a lot of
words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation. We'll sometimes like give each other like these voice memos that are like 20 minutes long. That are just like full of like appreciation and acknowledgement, but also like sharing dreams. And like, that's something that I really value about you is like, no matter how wild my dreams are, like I bring them to you and you amplify them. Not once have I ever brought something to you and you're like, Kelsey, I don't know that that's really possible. You're like, yeah, let's do it. Where are we going? What are we doing? And that's like nectar to me. Like that is, a piece that I didn't know that I needed from a friendship until I got it from you, where I can just dream really big and not have a cap on that, not have a cap on the possibility. And you play along with it, you feed into it. And then it just like moves this energy of creation. And then I'm able to show up in my life with my heart much more wide open, much more grounded and rooted, all because like I come up with a wild fantasy of my dream life. And you're like, that sounds like a really great idea. I support this full-heartedly.
I love it. I mean, to me, it's like you're highlighting support. You're highlighting, be with me in this, and even if it is in the clouds and it never happens, the fact that we can play in that realm together, and support. I feel like it just looks so different, and I think one of the things you really awakened. I know people listening are going to be like, all right, we get it. You guys are obsessed with each other.
Literally every interview is just like me and my girlfriends having conversations. I mean, like, this is our love fest. Okay.
This is our love fest. Well, it's that part that, I remember in my past relationships, one of the challenges I had in my friendships was, in some of them was, I didn't know how to ask for more reassurance, and I really needed more of that. And I think part of it was, again, the context of our culture, who, I was always teetering between, wait, I shouldn't have needs because we're supposed to be self-functioning versus, but hold on, I feel really bad. And we have a really amazing relationship. And I feel like I need this acknowledgement or just more praise or more, just mirroring of like the positive things I bring. And I remember in a particular friendship where, oh my gosh, I mean, it was a shit show. The way that it came, the energy in which I brought it, it came because it was so suppressed, and we just spiraled down into the space. And I think it was during one of our coaching calls where you said something like, anytime you need your tires, what was it? Pumped?
Yeah.
Pumped? Like, just let me know. And I was like, really? Like, I could just ask you for reassurance and you can just be with that. And again, it was another pivotal moment of that safety to know that I can bring, because I think this is another area of vulnerability that we don't often think about. Being vulnerable about our pain, of course, is vulnerable, but being vulnerable about our joys is vulnerable too. And we can feel so much shame and go into that space when our excitement and our dreams and the things that we're pursuing are not met well within the people that really care about. So you really highlighted that, and I was like, all right, this is what I need now. Everyone else has got to raise the bar, But it's from a place of, again, just acknowledging the healthy attachment that we need in relationships. Where do we take these lessons where did these messages even come from? And of course, we all have our family systems where we've learned certain things and felt like we had to be a particular role. So stepping outside of that, I always identified as feeling like I was the observer taking care of the emotional dynamic in my family system. So having those needs myself felt really, it felt very foreign and comfortable. So you did that.
Oh, thank you for sharing that with me. And I think the spaces that we have in terms of our friendships, I really do think that there has to be a pivot where we are celebrating each other's joy. Like there's so much focus culturally in North America, at least, because that's where we are right now. Like, let's focus on what's wrong, what's not working, like get to the heart of it. Like, and it's always looking for something bad. It's like, okay, there's value in that. Like, I want to understand the inner workings of my mind and my experience. Absolutely. But if I'm not balancing that with cultivation of joy and the celebration of that joy, I'm going to get pulled into a very deep, dark undertow that is going to be hard to come back up to the surface from. And so to make it a habit in a friendship to celebrate each other's wins, to celebrate each other's joy. Like when you need that reassurance, like that's part of my role as your friend, is to remind you of your brilliance when you've temporarily forgotten. You know, and you do the same for me. Like there are times where I slip out of my alignment, where I slip out of remembering who the fuck I am, and I'll just SOS. Like,
yes,
I've temporarily forgotten who I am. Can you remind me? Or I need my tires pumped, or I need reassurance. And like, that's been such a powerful like habit to get into the practice of doing, is outing that vulnerability of like, I feel like I need reassurance in this moment. And to be able to do it in friendship has enabled me to bring that level of vulnerability and depth into romantic or sexual relationships, where it is actually okay to ask for reassurance from your partner. And I don't know where that narrative came from, or that belief came from, that we should be able to do it all on our own and you should never need to ask for reassurance. Like that seems like a recipe for disaster.
Well, even, you know, as you're sharing all of this, Kelsey, it really highlights also this narrative of that you and I have really worked through a lot of our own, how patriarchy can really create in some of the harmful ways, can create competition, status, and how that has also been absorbed by a lot of women, because that's that's the majority of what we see in the ethers and in the mainstream. So I think both of us were at a point where, and I know for me, I had experienced those levels of dynamics with friendships with women in the past, and I didn't like that. I didn't want it. And I think if we're coming up against resistance around supporting, celebrating, I think it's so important that we explore that and we question that, and we really contextualize it so that we can see, okay, if there's envy, if there's feelings of jealousy, and to really name those things, so that maybe you do need to bring those things forward too, and share them, but that you don't forget to also celebrate. You know, there's one of the things that came up for me a lot in my relationship with my intimate partner in the beginning was, when we met, he was doing really well, and I was in a really insecure place in my career, and I went into the role of supporter, and I started to feel really resentful. He didn't ask me to do those things. I just took it on because that's the role that felt comfortable. And the feelings of jealousy and the feelings of not feeling like I could support him in the ways that I really wanted to. I was like, why is this here? And teasing that apart so that I could look at, you know, I need to be also doing the things that are important to me so that I can also be celebrated.
Yes.
We're not pursuing the things that feel joyful and exciting for us, and we're putting all of our focus and attention on another person. Of course, we're going to feel a disconnect with that. And that can happen in friendships just as much as that can happen in intimate relationships.
Absolutely. Especially with the world of social media. And there can be like so many assumptions that get made. Like, oh, this person has this many followers and I only have this many, and like, they're not supporting me. And like, that doesn't come up for me a lot, but occasionally when it does, I really do have to check myself, because I'm like, have you asked them to support you? Like, you could literally make a request, and, the worst that they can say is no. The worst that they can say is, no, I won't share that post, or no, I won't promote your course. In which case, there's a whole other world of friends at your disposal that you could also ask. And the likelihood of anyone in my community saying, nah, I'm not going to support you, like, that's literally like grounds for entry into this community, is like that willingness to amplify each other and support each other and champion for each other. And when one of us kind of dips, everyone kind of rallies around them to be like, okay, how do we elevate? How do we get you back on track? And what do you need from us in order to really be reminded and be back in your power, be back in your alignment? And, anytime I've asked you for support, you're just there. And if there was something that you could not support me in, I know that you would provide me with a counter offer. And that is something that I really love about boundary setting, is that it becomes a bit of a negotiation sometimes, of like, and this is going back to like honoring the sovereignty of both people and honoring the needs of both people. So I, make a request, and you have full agency to decline my request. You also have full agency to accept my request. You also have full agency to be like, there are parts of the request I can do, and there are parts that I can't. So here's my counter offer. And then I get to, digest that and say, like, does that work for me? If it does, great, we proceed. If not, I counter offer your counter offer until we get to an agreement with each other, something that works for both people. And I think that goes back to much of what you were saying about collaboration and celebration. Like, we, become better collaborators interpersonally when we're able to practice this within our friendships, within ourselves, and with our romantic partners as well.
And even in the way that you're saying, like, I love that. I think so much of a relationship is a negotiation. It's not the sexiest word, but that's what it is. And that's the reality, is that we're looking at both people in any dance that we're involved in. And, I really want to make space for, for people listening to this, that you're allowed to have a reaction to boundaries.
Yes.
You're allowed to feel rejected. You're allowed to feel hurt. You're allowed to feel surprised by it. I mean, you're allowed to feel, what are some other reactions that we feel to boundaries sometimes?
I mean, sometimes I felt disgust. I'm like, oh, how dare you ask for that? And really, like, that comes down to either something that really doesn't fit for me, or I have a similar need or desire that I have pushed down and denied and rejected. And so, like, that's one that comes up. But I think surprise, hurt. I think hurt is a big one that can come up for people. Hurt and surprise, because it is like high quality information. That's my working definition of boundaries. It's the high quality information that people need to love you better. And I think maybe sometimes a surprise happens because our person brings this high quality information, and then we internalize it. We make it about ourselves. Like, oh, I must not be a good partner if I didn't know this about them already. But like, there's no way you can know what you know until you know it.
Absolutely.
Like, and they've had
something wrong almost.
Yeah.
I crossed this line. How could I have done that? But nobody
didn't
knew where the line was yet.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Sometimes we don't even know what our boundaries are. I would say almost all the time, until somebody crosses them. How do you know unless you feel that response?
The discord. Yeah. Yeah. And even just normalizing that in this conversation, I think, is going to be wildly revolutionary.
I feel it. I feel responses to sometimes, especially for boundaries presented, more so when it's presented in a harsh way, or if I'm feeling, it's more related for me, like not having enough connection points. And I just feel like I have to really tolerate and stretch, but also coming back with the counter experience. I think this is what I really have been leaning into, is I totally honor and respect your boundaries. And this is also important for me. How can we create a way where we're also staying connected a little bit more? So it's a tricky thing. It's because both people have to be a little bit flexible. I have to learn to tolerate this, and the other person has to be willing to lean into this. And it's not so black and white. Unless there's abuse, which then it is.
Yes, then it's very, very black and white.
Yes.
Yeah, it's wild. Like our ability to negotiate while still remaining connected in our heart is a skill set that I really wish was more well spread throughout our culture and was taught in school or in some way, shape, or form, because it is such a powerful skill set to embody. And even being able to narrate the experience as it's happening of, oh, I noticed that I'm feeling a little constricted. I totally respect and honor your boundary, and I'm having some feelings. And there's some, crunchiness in my belly, or like tension. I feel myself gripping. I'm not too sure what that's about, but I'm going to go figure it out. Or like maybe we can talk it through to make sense of it, because I do really want to support you in having what you need, even if I can't provide it for you. And I think that has been something that I've held in high regard in my relationships, but haven't always been met by partners with that same level of regard of like, well, if I can't give you what you need, I still want you to have it. And let's find a solution so that you have what you need, even if it might mean you need to get it from your best friends, or, a colleague, or you take a class, or like there's ways for you to get your needs met that still fit the parameters and the agreements of our relationship, where I just might not be the one providing for that exact need in the exact way that you think it should be, but it becomes this collaboration, this exploration of like, all right, well, let's put our creative thinking caps on and make some magic. Like, I want you to have what you need. I've never not wanted my partners to have what they need. I want them to be their best in the world. I also know that there are limitations that I have. Like, I might not always be able to either be available at the exact time that they need me to be available, or, they might be making an ask of me that it's a hard no for me. And so there's this space for flexibility, but there has to be an agreement of both people, or the people involved, to, act in a way that does embody that flexibility when it comes to a situation that's a little tricky to navigate.
Completely. And you're speaking so much to that tension, I think, of that tolerating that difficult layer. What does it look like to hold that no on the other end of it? Or like you said, even though I can't necessarily meet this, but I still want to be an advocate for you so that you are experiencing joy and fulfillment. I have some work to do in that area. I think my partner is a little bit, if he can hold a little bit more space for that kind of complexity. He's helped my world be more gray, which has been lovely.
Oh, I love that. He's so lovely. He's so lovely. And to be able to navigate those spaces of gray, that's where the magic is. In a relationship, in a friendship, just in life. It's in the complexity, it's in the gray, it's in the nuance. And, if we kind of get out of the this or that thinking, it has to be one way or this way, and like it's so divisive, and that's not going to create connection and intimacy in your friendships or in your romantic pairings. Like, it's just not. It
doesn't create it doesn't create that space for possibility and new ideas to flourish. It's like that third way. It's not your way. It's not my way. What else is there? What other entity is wanting to come forward? But being open to that space. I mean, again, talk about vulnerability. There it is again.
There it is.
There it is. Always there. Vulnerability and boundaries are like, I would say, best friends.
I say so too. Yeah. Can't have one without the other. I mean, you could, but it wouldn't feel so good. It wouldn't be as pleasurable. And like, there is a way to set boundaries that increases your experience of pleasure in your body. Maybe not right away, but the boundary is there to ensure that you can open deeper and it feels safe to open deeper. And I think sometimes we're so starved for high quality connection that we expect someone to open all the way within the first 5 minutes, and then we're cheesed off at them when they don't. And that's something that I really love about our relationship. It's been this slow and steady opening. And that was largely a request that you made early on of like, this is something about my nervous system. I want to go slower and like really honor my pace. And like, this is great.
I don't even remember saying that. That's so wild.
Like let's move slowly. Cause like, we don't want to go like, I think it came down to, we both had experienced codependency with other women in our friendships. And for me, like it was that instant fuse of like, ooh, we're BFFs. And like, we're so fused together that there is an inevitable point where we have to unravel that, where like we're too close and there isn't enough space in between the connection to let it breathe. And because both of us had experienced that in the past, it was part of our agreement to go a little bit slower and like slow and steady. Like we have a very like tortoisey relationship, which I love, because it's like slow, but it's also steady. Like there's a continual like commitment and investment into the relationship, which in many ways has left me feeling so safe to tell you like things that I've never told anybody else, or like elements where I'm like really struggling or really feeling a lot of shame. And I just naturally feel safe to expose those parts to you, obviously with consent. We don't dump on each other. Like that's part of our agreement too. Like, are you available?
Every time I share, I'm like, oh my God, this is the longest voice note I've ever done. I'm so sorry if I dumped on you or and you're like, no, Silvy, you didn't dump on me at all. And I mean, again, this is just like, everyone listening is like, okay, you guys,
we get it. You're great.
Really, for me, another edge that I've really practiced with friendships has been to share, because I can get really locked into the observer role and really just, I was like, let me just practice just not waiting to be asked, just share. And every time I would share, you would mirror back my experience, and you would just, it was just always so comforting. And it's just so wild how you just don't know a lot of times even what has been missing until it's there. In the same way you don't know what boundaries
are until the lines are crossed.
Exactly. In the same way that we don't know that, I think it's the flip way. Sometimes we don't know what relational needs. And, when I think about the pleasure conversation, I always come to remember the book Come As You Are. Have you read it by Emily Nagoski? Oh, it's so beautiful. And she's
so good.
This is more in the sexual domain. She talks about the brakes and the accelerators. Yes. And it's like, I think about this concept of brakes as the boundaries. I mean, it's not quite an exact match, but the accelerator is like what context is going to allow us to move forward in this relationship? Yes. And then what context is going to really mute things down. And I think for us, so much of it has been, really, we know a lot of each other's core vulnerabilities, like core woundings, which can feel really scary to expose to new friendships when you've had those things take advantage of or hurt. And then you allow this person, you watch and you see how they hold it. And you've always held it and honored it. And I feel like we've talked about so many different layers.
It's so great. We're going to have to do 2.0 because we could just go in a bazillion different directions. I think, we clearly have no problem talking to each other and entertaining ourselves. It's so fantastic. And I love that whole concept of the brake and the accelerator, especially when it comes to boundaries and celebration and needs. And you just said something that's so vitally important. Like when it comes to new friendships, there is this degree of being willing to invest and put yourself out there. Maybe you don't put like your biggest vulnerability out there right away. Yes. And that was a big part of our slow and steady turtle time here, was like we would build trust with each other. I would start with something that if you rejected me for that, it wouldn't really impact me. But
you
built.
would know.
But I would know. I would know. Be like, okay, if she rejected me for that, then we've gone as far as we can go. Like I'm going to have to tier this on like tier 4. Yeah. And, so we kept revealing like these like smaller vulnerabilities so that we built trust with each other. And when there was enough trust there that I'm like, I know without a shadow of a doubt that if I bring this like very, very tender part of me forward, not only does Silvy have the capacity to hold it, but she will honor it, respect it, and never use it against me. And that got built over time. It's not something that happens like on date 1 or phone call 1 or like conversation 1, which it mirrors in the dating space. Like,
and so you're hitting a landmine with this one. You know that, right? Yeah. This is one of the things that I remember my therapist told me, because what would happen for me is I would share a vulnerability with someone, they wouldn't respond warmly, and then I would share deeper. It's like, well, maybe if I share this bigger thing about myself, then they'll be warm and compassionate and validating and give me the reassurance that I need. And it was like this, no, they're not. If they're not responding to this thing, this smaller level thing, what on earth makes me think that they're going to respond? So that was, I mean, what you just said right there, like, I hope people really take that in, because it's so vital that we build our sharing of vulnerability and that we don't give away these big pockets without really assessing how they're responding to the smaller scale stuff. Oh, this is huge. This is really huge.
Well, I think we should leave them on a cliffhanger. Let them marinate in that.
Until 2.0.
Until 2.0, yes. So let's transition into our rapid fire pleasure questions.
I'm excited and nervous.
So excited to hear your answers here. Okay, so this is like right in alignment with our conversation today.
Beautiful.
What is something you're celebrating in your life right now?
What is something I'm celebrating in my life? I'm celebrating in my life, I think, rest and ease and flow. It's something that I always get away from because of life gets busy. But whenever I come back to that space, I feel like it's something that comes quite naturally to me to be able to be able to access rest and ease. And it feels really important to remind myself to celebrate that and to not look at that as a I should say, use the word laziness, or our culture that can really promote fast pace, getting things done, and of course there's a time and space to do that. But it's been nice to just honor that part of me more lately.
I think that's my favorite answer to that question so far. Let's see. How has pleasure shifted your relationship to magic?
How has pleasure shifted my relationship to magic? Oh my gosh. When I'm feeling excitement, I know that something's about to brew. When I can really start amplifying and leaning towards those feelings and creating, again, I think contacts and friends and people that I can play with that can help me. Like we play off that energy with each other, like how we talk about magical things all the time. And like, this is what I'm thinking, and this is what I'm dreaming, and this is where I might see where I'm living. And our energy's living in a place of pleasure and excitement. And we're doing that. So it helps, brings a lot of things to fruition. And if it doesn't, it's so wonderful to dream.
Yes. And, one of our dreams that, I created it, that I enrolled you into, was like eating noodles in a castle in Italy. When are we going?
And Ireland.
Yep. Frolicking through Ireland, collecting all of the magical vortexes and just frolicking in them. Love it. Okay, let's see. What has pleasure been the portal for most recently in your life?
Pleasure been the most... Gosh. What has it been what has it portaled me into? Gosh, I want to say it's like pleasure and pain for me live really close to each other. I imagine they do for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't even know if I'm answering the question, so we'll see where it goes. I don't know. But I think it's pleasure and pain, and leaning into the feeling realm has just allowed me to just be more grounded within my experiences, and not feel like I have to. Yeah, this one's a little bit of a hard one for me to really put words to. I mean, I could say in the sexual domain. I don't know.
You can say whatever you want, or you don't have to say anything at all.
Well, I think for me, what I can share is the sexual template that I resonate a lot with has always been kink. Kink.
Me too.
Yeah. And so
common ground for us.
I know. One more. It's like finding avenues in the sexual department where I can play. And I think sexuality has always been a huge portal of aliveness and playfulness for me. And I'm actually quite grateful that I didn't have a lot of shaming experiences growing up around sexuality. So that was one area that I feel like, of course, as a woman, there's still things that have come up. But so really embracing that part of me more, finding really cool ways to play there.
Yes, that's a great answer.
The kinks.
Okay, one final question.
Okay.
You ready? If you could whisper a nugget of pleasure or wisdom to 13-year-old you, what would you tell her?
Oh, man. Gosh, a nugget of pleasure, wisdom to 13-year-old me. I think I would say really follow the whispers of excitement. They're all around you, and it's so easy for you to focus on others and supporting others and their joys, and just remember to take some time and carve it out for you and to listen to those whispers, because they're going to guide you and they're going to bring in your magical friends.
Yes, who will take you to ancient lands and go frolic with unicorns.
Yes.
Oh, so good. All right. So obviously everyone's going to be in love with you after they listen to this conversation. So where can they find you? What do you got that you're offering? If people want to go deeper with you and your work on boundaries or attachment systems, tell them where they can find you.
Well, the biggest hub would be my Instagram, which is at Silvy Khoucasian. I won't spell it out, but Kelsey will share it.
I will link it in the show notes.
And then I do have a boundaries program that I have been really revamping with my partner to really include the family domain, the friendship domain, because I've gotten so many questions around how to have boundaries with friends. And I think it's so vital that we validate the experiences around boundaries maybe not being respected or recognized, and learning how to speak into them. So that's going to be, by the time people listen to this, it's probably going to, the relaunch will have already taken place. So the boundaries program would be the one that I would really emphasize right now. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I can't wait to share this with everybody. Thank you so much for your time and your heart and your wisdom and your friendship. I just value you so much, and I can't wait for everyone else to hear this conversation today.
I love you. Thank you so much, Kelsey. This was such a pleasure, and adore you. Can't wait for Ireland together and all the things.
All the things. All right, everyone. Thank you for your time, for listening today. It was such an honor to have you here with us. We know that that's no small thing to invest an hour and a bit listening to conversations. And if this conversation moved you, if it inspired you, if it had impact for you, please share it with someone else you know could really benefit from this conversation. That would be wildly helpful to the podcast, but also to our mission of spreading more pleasure, more delight, and more magic out into the world. Love you, friends. Bye.